Experts around the world are studying satellite images from Asia. New images that show something floating in the ocean 5 days after that passenger jet vanished. 239 people on board.
Everyone thinks they know what happened to MH370. But here is the catch. After 11 years and billions of dollars spent searching, a private company just bet £56 million that they can find the wreckage in 90 days using technology that did not exist during the original hunt. They claim they have narrowed the crash site to a zone smaller than Manhattan. If they are right, the black boxes could still contain recoverable data. 7 explosive theories are about to collide with the truth, and at least one of them is about to die.
Is MH370 a crime scene? Is it a crime? Are we investigating a crime here? The possibility is certainly yes.
The vanishing March 8th, 2014. Kuala Lumpur International Airport. The clock reads 12:41 in the morning. Captain Zaharia Ahmad Shah settles into the left seat of the cockpit. He has over 18,000 flight hours. This route to Beijing is routine. The weather is clear. The Boeing 777-200ER beneath him is one of the most reliable machines ever built. 227 passengers fill the cabin behind him. Among them is Liu Rusheng, a 72-year-old master calligrapher, traveling with 23 fellow artists to an exhibition in Beijing. He had spent 40 years perfecting his craft. His students said his brushwork captured motion itself. He was returning home to show his newest work to his grandchildren. He never arrived. At 12:42 a.m., the plane lifts off. The lights of Kuala Lumpur shrink beneath the wings. The cabin settles into the quiet rhythm of a red-eye flight. Passengers adjust their seats. Some pull blankets over their shoulders. Others stare through oval windows at the darkness below. Everything is normal for exactly 38 minutes. At 1:19 a.m., a voice from the cockpit delivers a routine handoff to air traffic control. Good night, Malaysian 370. Those are the last words anyone will ever hear from that aircraft.
Malaysian 370, contact Ho Chi Minh 120.9. Good night.
Good night, Malaysian 370.
2 minutes later, the transponder stops transmitting. The plane's radar signature vanishes from civilian screens. No alarm, no distress call, no emergency beacon. But here is the catch. Military radar, operating on different frequencies, captured something that civilian systems missed entirely. A contact consistent with a Boeing 777 had turned sharply west. Not gradually, not in response to weather, sharply, deliberately. It crossed back over Malaysia, flew over the Strait of Malacca, and then banked south toward one of the most remote stretches of ocean on the planet. This was not the flight path of a stricken aircraft limping toward the nearest runway. This was navigation. This was control. For nearly 7 hours after its last voice contact, that aircraft kept flying. 7 hours of silence. 7 hours without a single transmission. 7 hours in which 239 people were either unconscious, dead, or watching something unfold that we cannot imagine. The plane crossed time zones. It flew over shipping lanes where no one looked up. It passed beyond the range of any rescue. When the fuel finally ran out, the plane descended somewhere over the southern Indian Ocean, in waters so deep that no natural light has ever touched the bottom. It met the water. The ocean swallowed it whole.
We have some news in the search for the passenger plane that vanished 12 days ago. Tonight, the leading edge of the search has dramatically narrowed, zeroing in on 2 sections of ocean.
The search that followed was the largest in aviation history. Ships from multiple nations crisscrossed thousands of square miles. Satellites were repositioned to scan empty ocean for any sign of wreckage. Submarines descended into trenches that had never been mapped before. Australia led the underwater effort, deploying the most advanced sonar equipment ever used in a recovery operation. China sent warships. Malaysia mobilized its entire maritime fleet. The international community united with a single purpose. Billions of dollars vanished into the search effort. Careers were built and destroyed on the hunt for answers. Political tensions flared as governments blamed each other for coordination failures. The main wreckage was never found. What investigators recovered instead were fragments. A flaperon washed ashore on Reunion Island. Wing pieces appeared in Mozambique and South Africa. Debris that confirmed impact but explained nothing about cause. And into that vacuum, 7 theories rushed in.
We begin tonight with Flight 370. The major new clue: was it deliberately brought down? All of this comes 1 year, 4 months after that plane vanished with 239 on board. The new clues from that piece of a wing discovered on a remote island.
The pilot's secret among every explanation offered for MH370. One has received more official attention than any other. It is also the one that no one wants to believe. Deliberate pilot action. The theory is devastating in its simplicity. Captain Zahari Ahmad Shah, for reasons that may never be fully understood, took control of the aircraft and flew it into oblivion on purpose. Not because of mechanical failure, not because of hijacking, because of a decision made in his own mind. Investigators found troubling details in his personal life. His marriage was under strain. His wife had moved out of their family home weeks before the flight. Colleagues described him as increasingly withdrawn in the months leading up to March 8th. More isolated, more introspective. He had become quieter in the crew room, less engaged with the routines that had defined his career. These details are not crimes. They are not proof, but they became part of a narrative that investigators could not ignore. Then came a discovery that sent shockwaves through the investigation. His home flight simulator, a custom-built system he had assembled himself, contained deleted data that forensic analysts managed to recover. Someone had practiced a route strikingly similar to MH370's suspected final path. A flight into the southern Indian Ocean, a long journey over open water, a route that ended nowhere, a route with no destination except the sea.
The report revealed that Captain Zahari had a sophisticated flight simulator at home, which he built with the help of online aviation enthusiasts and engineers.
The sequence of events that night also suggested deliberate control. The transponder was disabled in a way that appeared intentional, switched off at the exact moment when the aircraft transitioned between Malaysian and Vietnamese airspace. The timing was too precise for coincidence. The turns that followed were calculated. The altitude changes were methodical. This was not the signature of chaos or failure. This was purpose. But here is the catch. Mental health professionals who reviewed the case found no clinical evidence that Zahari was suicidal or dangerous. People who knew him described a professional who loved flying, who built model aircraft, who mentored younger pilots. The mass murderer profile did not fit. The simulator data has also been challenged. Pilots routinely run hypothetical scenarios for training or curiosity. The routes found did not perfectly match MH370's suspected path. Drawing intent from deleted files is legally and psychologically dangerous. And the most uncomfortable truth remains. No cockpit voice recorder has been recovered. No flight data recorder, no confession. Everything we think we know about what happened inside that cockpit is assumption built on probability. The deliberate pilot theory survives because it fits some facts better than others. But it survives without proof. If you are fascinated by aviation's darkest mysteries, smash that like button and subscribe. We're about to go even deeper.
Malaysia's transport minister confirmed that the pilot of missing Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 had plotted a flight path into the Indian Ocean, where the plane is believed to have flown before it disappeared 2 years ago.
The ghost and the hijack. Two possibilities compete for the same space in this mystery. Both involve loss of control, both explain the silence, and both lead to the same terrifying destination. The hijacking theory suggests someone seized the aircraft, the sudden loss of communications, the deliberate course change, the hours of uninterrupted flight. To some analysts, this pattern screams coordinated action by someone who knew exactly how to disable tracking systems. But hijackings have signatures, demands, communications, claims of responsibility. MH370 had none. No passenger made a call. No group stepped forward. If someone took that aircraft, they did so wanting no one to ever know. The ghost flight theory takes a different approach. It removes intent entirely and replaces it with catastrophe. Imagine a sudden depressurization. A fire erupts in the electronics bay beneath the cockpit floor. Electrical systems short circuit. Smoke begins pouring into the cabin. The air turns poisonous within seconds. Passengers reach for oxygen masks that deploy too late or malfunction. Flight attendants collapse in the aisles. Within minutes, everyone on board loses consciousness. The pilots slump forward in their seats, hands falling away from controls they can no longer reach. The passengers sink into their seats, never to wake up.
As the hunt for missing flight MH370 resumes, theories about what happened to the doomed plane are once again bubbling up. The plane vanished seemingly into thin air during a 2014 trip from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing.
But the aircraft keeps flying. The engines continue burning fuel. The wings continue generating lift. The autopilot, still engaged and functioning perfectly, guides the plane along its programmed route until the tanks run dry. No distress call is sent because there is no one conscious to send it. No emergency descent is attempted because there is no one left to attempt it. The plane becomes a tomb, moving at 500 miles per hour through the night sky, carrying the dead across thousands of miles of empty ocean. This changes everything. It proves that 239 people may not have died in a crash at all. They may have died hours earlier, unconscious at cruising altitude, while the aircraft carried their bodies south through the darkness. The final impact was not the end. It was merely the last chapter of a tragedy that had already concluded somewhere over the Strait of Malacca. When the engines finally flamed out over the Indian Ocean, the aircraft entered a steep, uncontrolled dive. Without power, without guidance, it accelerated toward the water. It hit the surface at speeds that tear metal apart like paper. The debris pattern found years later, fragments torn rather than cleanly broken, pieces scattered across distant shorelines, is consistent with exactly this kind of catastrophic impact. But here is the catch. Autopilot systems are not designed to navigate complex course changes for extended periods without human input. The turns MH370 made after losing contact suggests someone was still at the controls, at least for a while. Neither theory can be proven, neither can be dismissed, and that is exactly why they refuse to die.
We're We're going to turn now to the latest on the search for the missing Malaysia Airlines flight. Chinese planes spotting 3 objects in the new search area overnight, raising hopes that they could be from Flight 370.
The impossible video. Shortly after MH370 disappeared, a video surfaced online showing a strange object trailing the aircraft, moving in ways that defied physics, pacing the plane as if observing it. The UFO theory gained traction not because it was credible, but because it was dramatic. A Boeing 777 vanishing without a trace feels impossible in an age of global surveillance. For some, unknown intervention made more sense than human failure. But here is the catch. When analysts examined the footage, problems emerged immediately. No verified source, no original metadata, no chain of custody. Visual experts identified inconsistencies, suggesting editing. Aviation specialists noted that any object interacting with a jetliner would leave radar traces. None were detected. The UFO theory survives because it fills a psychological need. When governments issue conflicting statements, and the world's most sophisticated technology fails, people search for meaning elsewhere. The video offered certainty that official channels could not provide, even if that certainty pointed toward the impossible. This theory tells us less about what happened to MH370, and more about what happens to human belief when answers disappear.
The fact that the signal disappeared, that was the unusual element. The fact that transponder, which was chirping back every time it was hit by the radar beam from air traffic control, went silent.
The geopolitical game. 2 theories point fingers at nation-states. Both are explosive, both are terrifying, and both face the same fundamental problem. The first claims North Korea seized the aircraft for its technology. A modern Boeing 777 contains advanced avionics, navigation systems, and composite materials worth billions in research and development. These are systems that isolated regimes cannot build independently. They represent decades of Western aerospace engineering condensed into a single airframe. According to this theory, the plane was diverted to North Korean territory, landed on a hidden runway, and dismantled for reverse engineering. Passengers were silenced permanently. Wreckage was hidden underground in facilities that no satellite can penetrate. The entire operation was executed with the precision and secrecy that only a totalitarian state can enforce. The argument relies on North Korea's documented history of covert operations. The regime has surprised the world before, with hidden nuclear facilities, unexpected missile capabilities, and operations that crossed international boundaries. For those already skeptical of official narratives, this theory carries a dark plausibility. But hiding a wide-body commercial aircraft requires enormous infrastructure. Silencing hundreds of potential witnesses requires perfect operational security, maintained for over a decade. No satellite imagery has ever shown a Boeing 777 in North Korea. No defector has ever confirmed such an operation. No physical trace has emerged. The logistics make this theory nearly impossible.
On Saturday, March the 8th, flight MH370 disappeared from radar shortly after takeoff from Kuala Lumpur. 239 people were on board. The plane has never been found.
The second theory implicates Russia. Aviation analyst Jeff Wise proposed a controversial argument that Moscow had both the capability and the motive to orchestrate the disappearance. In March 2014, Russia was in the process of annexing Crimea. International condemnation was building. Global attention was fracturing between diplomatic negotiations and military posturing on the Ukrainian border, creating an unsolvable aviation mystery, Wise argued, could serve as strategic distraction. It would consume intelligence resources. It would dominate global headlines for weeks. It would create chaos and confusion at a moment when Russia needed the world looking elsewhere. Russia possesses electronic warfare capabilities that could theoretically spoof satellite data or manipulate aircraft navigation systems. Its intelligence services have demonstrated willingness to conduct operations with global reach. The theory is intellectually provocative, but here is the catch. No unusual signals were detected that night. No credible leaks have emerged in 11 years. No direct link connects Russian systems to MH370's flight path. These theories thrive when official explanations falter. Large-scale actors become convenient villains because they feel powerful enough to make things vanish without traces. MH370 became a mirror, reflecting global anxieties about secrecy and hidden power. The final search will test these theories directly. Concrete evidence from the ocean floor could eliminate them entirely.
Investigators are launching a new high-tech search today for a plane that disappeared more than 10 years ago. The Malaysia Airlines flight vanished from radar over the Indian Ocean with 239 people on board. Now Malaysia's transport ministry says a Texas-based marine robotics firm is starting a new deep-sea search for the missing plane.
The last chance. After 11 years, the hunt is resuming. And this time, everything is different. Previous searches covered over 120,000 square kilometers of ocean floor. Vessels crisscrossed the southern Indian Ocean for years, towing sonar equipment through water columns that stretched miles deep. They mapped underwater mountains and trenches that had never been seen before. They discovered shipwrecks from previous centuries. But they never found MH370. The main wreckage remained hidden beneath water so deep that sunlight has never touched it. Pressure at those depths would crush an unprotected human instantly. The darkness is absolute. The terrain is alien. But here is the catch. Technology has advanced dramatically since 2014. Drift modeling has improved through years of analysis of recovered debris. Researchers spent a decade refining probability maps based on where fragments washed ashore, how ocean currents behave across seasonal cycles, and what the satellite handshake data actually means when interpreted with better algorithms. The new search area is smaller, more focused, more precise than anything attempted before. Analysts believe they have identified a zone where the probability of finding wreckage is highest. A zone that previous searches may have missed due to equipment limitations or incorrect assumptions.
Happening now, a new search for Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 is underway nearly a dozen years after the Boeing 777, with 239 people on board, vanished from radar after takeoff in Kuala Lumpur.
Ocean Infinity, the company leading the renewed hunt, operates autonomous underwater vehicles that represent a quantum leap beyond the technology used in the original search. Their drones can descend to depths of 6,000 meters. They can scan the seabed in unprecedented detail while covering ground faster than any crewed vessel ever could. Multiple units can operate simultaneously, coordinating their movements to maximize coverage. The company is so confident that they have structured the contract on a no-find, no-fee basis. £56 million in reward money hangs in the balance. They get paid only if they locate the aircraft. That confidence suggests either extraordinary hubris or access to data the public has not seen. If this search succeeds, it will do more than locate wreckage. It will collapse possibilities. Most of the 7 theories will fall at once when real evidence surfaces. A cockpit voice recorder could reveal the final moments. A flight data recorder could show exactly how the aircraft was controlled. Even partial wreckage could eliminate entire categories of speculation forever. But if this search fails, the opposite happens. The absence of answers hardens doubt. The theories evolve. MH370 remains unresolved, not because the truth is unknowable, but because it slipped beyond reach at the exact moment technology should have captured it.
It's truly a one-of-a-kind operation with 8 AUVs on one vessel. It provides a capability to search a vast part of the seafloor in a very short time period, and it's very efficient, so it's really a perfect tool for this kind of search.
The weight of silence. Liu Rusheng's family still waits for answers. His daughter has spent 11 years not knowing whether her father died in an instant or suffered for hours at altitude. She does not know if he was conscious when the plane turned west. She does not know if he looked out the window and understood what was happening. She does not know if the end came quickly or if it stretched across 7 hours of helpless awareness. She knows only that he boarded a flight to come home, to show his grandchildren his newest calligraphy, and never arrived. 238 other families carry the same weight. Parents who lost children, children who lost parents, spouses who never received closure, friends who stopped waiting for phone calls that would never come. Every failed search extends their suffering by another year. Every theory forces them to imagine a different horror. Every anniversary brings cameras and questions and the same unbearable uncertainty that started on March 8, 2014. They have lived in limbo longer than some of their loved ones were alive.
Another day, another disappointment. Chinese relatives of the passengers of missing Malaysian Air Flight 370 wept, begged, and even cursed at a Malaysian diplomat in Beijing on Monday.
The 7 explanations that have survived this long represent different kinds of fear. Fear of individual madness hiding behind professional composure. Fear of mechanical failure striking without warning in systems we trust with our lives. Fear of hijacking in an era we thought was protected. Fear of the unknown reaching down from skies we cannot explain. Fear of governments operating in shadows we cannot penetrate. Each theory feeds on gaps in what we know. Each one refuses to die because the evidence that could kill it has never surfaced from the ocean floor. Somewhere beneath the Indian Ocean, the answer is waiting. The black boxes may still hold recoverable data. The wreckage may still tell its story. The truth may still be reachable. The new search is humanity's last realistic chance to find it. If it succeeds, Liu Rusheng's daughter finally learns what happened to her father. 238 other families finally receive the closure they have been denied for over a decade. If it fails, MH370 becomes permanent mystery, a wound that never closes, a question that outlasts everyone who asked it. Which theory do you believe? Drop your answer in the comments below. And if this deep dive into MH370 kept you watching, hit subscribe. We uncover mysteries like this every week. See you in the next one.